All right. My name's Mookie from 88.5 The SoCal Sound and the SoCalSound.org. If you like what we do on and off the air, please consider donating and becoming a subscribing member to this public radio station through the SoCalSound.org. I'm sitting here with Cliff Beach. It's amazing that we're actually finally doing this. Cliff Beach is a fantastic musician, a public radio DJ, and now a published author, and I guess a TV personality as well. We'll get to all of those things because you're doing so much stuff. But first and foremost, where are you sitting right now?
I am sitting in my home studio right now. So super excited to be on. Thank you, Mookie, for having me.
My pleasure. It's cool to do these Zoom interviews with musicians because you never know where they're going to be. It could be their living room or their front porch or their home studio. And I know your background is blurry right now, so we can't really see it. But is that basically where the magic happens, the demos and or stuff that ends up on your records?
Yeah, a lot of the magic definitely happens here. I usually write and start songs on my Marc II Rhodes, which I've had here for many years. And yeah. Nothing like just sitting down to like a real keyboard with real kinetic hammers hitting it at times. And yeah, it's super exciting to be able to see the progression of like how kind of music began for me. Because I started, just as a singer, then adding keyboard, then adding songwriting, then adding producing. So it's kind of like a stone soup. You're always adding little things as you go.
Incredible. Well, at this point, you are, I would call you a world-class keyboard player. We'll get to that stuff, but let's get into the music right off the bat. You joined us with your incredible band in our studios not too long ago. So let's jump right into the music, and then we'll come back and we'll have more of a chit-chat about some other stuff. The song So Into You is what we'll kick it off with. Can you give us a quick storyteller's type of moment with this song, or should we just rip right into it?
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of like that cautiously optimistic in relationships, but this is like coming from a very like adult experience where it's not about having something that's perfect. It's learning the gift of imperfection in romantic context.
So Into You, it's Cliff Beach on 88.5 The SoCal Sound.
At the break of day, smell your morning breath, but I won't turn away. I wanna hear every single word you say. Nothing sweeter when you call my name. I know, I'm so into you. I'm so into you. And every moment is filled with delight, but she tries to make everything alright. Good things can be hard to find. So glad that
All right, there you go. So Into You. That is a live version of a new song by Cliff Beach and his fantastic band. Our listeners have heard the music of Cliff Beach on the air for a number of months now, specifically songs like Black Moses and Sunday Morning and I Got Soul, the original, as well as the remix. And if people want to do the deep dive on Cliff Beach, I guess, you could just type into the search engine Cliff Beach music, and that'll get you to where you need to be, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So musically, man, originally you're from where?
I'm originally from Washington, D.C., Maryland area, the DMV. I spent all my childhood there. So growing up in church with gospel choirs and then, regular choirs in school from K through high school. And then eventually going to Berklee College of Music in Boston. That's where I kind of like got my foray into music. And and then I've been out in LA now 20 years doing music with my first band, the Moon Crickets, and now my Cliff Beach band.
So did you go ahead and decide to relocate to Southern California specifically for music?
I did. Well, one, I relocated because I just don't like the cold. So after DC and then Boston, I was like pretty much over it. I tell people all the time, like, on the East Coast, Jack Frost nibbles at your nose, but like in Boston, he just slapped me across the face. I look out and the river was frozen. And so, but LA really was like one of the three major hubs after school that you could go to. So it was either LA or New York, which on the East Coast, I went to New York, but it was like too grimy for me. And then I'm real like hustly, bustly, which LA is like a little bit more laid back. And then Nashville, which was more country oriented. So LA was like the perfect choice for me. And I always, when I was a kid, I would always see like the red carpets, like we just had Emmys and stuff like that. I would see those things happening in Los Angeles, and I was like, I'm gonna go there. And if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, as you know.
Right, something like that. But look at Nashville now. I guess traditionally it's been regarded as a country music town, but now it's just, my goodness. It's just expanding so much. You really never know what you're going to get out there in Nashville. I've never been, but a lot of people from never been.
Great. So good. Yeah, the whole street of music. If you put tips in a jar, they'll play whatever song you request. And very organic music. A lot of bands, a lot of people actually playing instruments. Not as much like electronic or remix kind of stuff.
We know that a lot of people from SoCal are relocating out to Nashville these days. You know, we're losing all of our people out here. This is Cliff Beach. My name's Mookie from 88.5, the SoCal Sound here in Southern California. There's a lot to talk about. Like I said, we're going to get back into another performance of the song Confident in just a second. But you are a public radio DJ. You're on the air every Friday night to kick off our weekend. It's the Deeper Grooves radio show. It's one of my favorite shows on the air. And I guess we should explain to people how that show kind of came about. Do you recall how those initial conversations, me and you?
Yeah, I definitely remember. It was interesting because it was during the pandemic. The radio station was playing me. So thank you, Mookie, as the program director, for working with my radio team, Distiller Sanford Co. and playing my music. You were one of the only stations I knew in LA that was doing LA Spotlight. So for people that don't know, the station is great at doing like 4 spotlights during the day of local artists, which I think is amazing because LA artists need love for sure and support. And so by doing that, then we kind of connected, and then we slowly started talking about, I think I had done just an example of a pitch of maybe 30 minutes of what I was thinking to do as a radio show. I said to you, and then you're like, hey, I'm looking for a person to take over the spot. Would you like to do it? And I knew nothing about radio at the time. And you can definitely hear like the progression of the show since I started. But I try to say yes to things and to push myself. In the same way, like I wasn't thinking a year ago or 2 years ago, I was going to end up being on TV with Josh Gates and Discovery. It was just like one of those things that kind of fell in my lap, but also I did put myself out there. So I guess like for everybody, the lesson is like, I sent it to you. I had no expectations, but at least I put it out there and I created something that someone could see as a proof of concept. And then, you just say yes, because eventually you'll figure out like what you're doing. I'm sure when you started, it was the same thing. I'm sure everybody starts from nowhere and builds up from there.
So yeah, you floated me like this playlist that you had been putting together regularly, and it was just this funk and soul stuff, and I loved it so much. So I hit you up, and I was like, "Do you want to host this radio show?" You know, and no, you didn't have any radio experience, but you are a band leader and a front man, and you get up on stage and you address people. I knew it would be a natural fit, you know, and sure enough. You've been sounding great on Deeper Grooves every Friday night. You touched on television as well. Josh Gates Tonight is something that you've been featured on I think the Discovery Channel, right? And we'll get to the self-help book as well, if that's what you want to call it. But let's get back into the music, if you don't mind. This is Cliff Beach with the song "Confident" in our studio, and another amazing performance. And then we'll come back and talk more about stuff. This is 88.5, the SoCal Sound.
I never changed myself for you. Shrink to fit your narrow point of view. Don't fence me in, give me some room. No time for small minds. I got a brand new attitude. I'm confident, learning to love myself, living the life that I want. I ain't living for no one else. That's right, I'm confident. What you see is what you get. Living with no regrets. Looking forward to what's there. That's right, I'm confident. Look at me, I'm confident. I had to break all the rules. Trying to be someone else just ain't cool. I don't want to be your fool. Nah, nah. No time for small minds. Got a brand new attitude. I'm confident, learning to love myself, living the life that I want. I ain't living for no one else. That's right, I'm confident. What you see is what you get. Living with no regrets. Looking forward to what's next. Why did it take so long for me to see? It's keeping me from being free. Was right for me. Said the only way to be is absolutely, totally confident. Yeah. Said I'm learning to love myself, living the life I want. I ain't living no one else. That's right, I'm confident. Yeah, what you see is what you get. Living with no regrets. Look forward to what's next. Hit me now. Yeah. I'm living with confidence, woo, confident. Look at me, I'm confident. Like what you see, baby, I'm confident. Yeah, confident. Oh yeah, I'm confident. Living to love myself, living the life that I want. I ain't living for no one else. Yeah, what you see is what you get. Living with no regrets. Look forward to what's there. Come on now. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, I'm living with confidence.
And there you have it. The song's called "Confident," a live version done by Cliff Beach and his fantastic band. Who's in the band, by the way? And is that the act that you play with normally around town?
Yeah, that's my 7-piece. So the septet, I guess. But so there's rhythm section, which is me on keyboard and vocals. We got Alex Amaro on bass, Brandon Peterson on drums. And then I have 4 horns today. So I have Luis on trumpet, Evan Mackey, who's my trombone player, horn arranger, and a CSUN alum, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Another matador.
For sure. And then we have Sam Williams on saxophone. And Tim Hall is on guitar.
It's really cool to be able to get everybody together to do our radio session. So next time you talk to them, send over my appreciation. I know how hard it is to get everybody in the same room sometimes. You coined the term. Maybe you coined the term new funk, which sort of describes your brand of music in a way. Is that a term you still throw around from time to time?
It's interesting because new funk, I think, leans towards more electronic and I'm more organic, but I still like the term, kind of like neo soul, where it's just kind of like you're modernizing classics. So for me, it's the same thing. I was trying to modernize funk. And there's tons of people who have done that style, like Uptown Funk with Marc and stuff like that. But for me, my music really is kind of a hybrid of all the American roots that I love. So gospel, blues, jazz, funk, soul, R&B. They all kind of, again, resonate from that same root. Even country, bluegrass, early rock and roll, everything kind of comes from that same place. So it's like a tree that has a thick root and all these different branches, but they're all like related. That's why you can see like banjo is in bluegrass, but it's technically an African instrument. Like there's a lot of cross-pollination because of history and how the world has done, and then breaking down the color wall and music kind of like combining together. So I've always loved fusion type music, whether it's jazz fusion, rock fusion, etc. I like to not be pigeonholed necessarily into one style, but everything, even with deeper grooves. The show showcases like a ton of different styles, but it's all groove oriented. So if it like moves and grooves, makes you want to dance, then that's something I can get behind.
Right. You said that you started off as a singer in the church. How soon after that did the piano or keyboard come along?
I started taking piano lessons very early, but obviously learning like the fundamentals, you're doing a lot of scales and not really as much song-based stuff. So by the time I got into high school, that's when I started to get more into like chords and comping and kind of like rhythm. And then from there, branching out to do my own songs. Once I started doing my own music, then I felt like I was at home with the instrument. I started to have more love and appreciation for it. And then like little things started to click as they went on. But definitely by the time I went to Berkeley is really when like I expanded my music repertoire and knowledge. Because growing up, my family, how like the movie Footloose, like they banned dancing. My family bans like other styles of music. So mostly all I listened to was gospel Christian music until I went to Berkeley, where then I was introduced. Like right before I went to Berkeley, like I started going to different friends' houses and their families who had records would play like Curtis Mayfield or James Brown. I started getting like into this world of like, oh my God, there's so much other music. But at the same time, I feel like gospel is a great style to have as an underpinning because a lot of people like really play by ear. So I have a really great ear for music and how I hear things. So even with my band, like with written music, I'll see like things. And even at Berkeley, like we learn how to read music, but it never was like, I don't think about music in that way. I'm always thinking about the feeling and what I'm hearing more than anything else. So I think that's a good way to do that. It also has like a really strong improvisational style, which I love, and a lot of call and response, which you'll hear in my music a lot. Because I feel like there's like a transference of feeling and energy between live crowds. And I think that's why people enjoy seeing us live, because we're always trying to like get people hyped up. Because the more energy they give us, the more we give them. And it's like this symbiotic relationship. Like we create a feedback loop, essentially. So yeah, but Berkeley was really where I started to learn that. And then once I came after that to California, having a band and being like, okay, I have to be the principal songwriter and write songs, then I started like cataloging a bunch of music since then and writing.
Amazing. When was it a tough journey to, I guess, come into your own as like this dynamic front man? Because you got like swagger up on stage, and I imagine like I asked singer-songwriters and stuff all the time when they first played that coffee house gig, the open mic night, and up until now, like how have things changed? Like is it easier to get up in front of people and share your music? Because again, you wear your heart on your sleeve and the music is out there for everyone to hear, as far as collaborating with people and getting up on stage. Is that just easy for you at this point?
Yeah, it's easy for me, but a lot of things keep you on your toes. For instance, like when I started doing the house band gig for Josh Gates, you have to not only be a performer, but he's gonna throw stuff, to you at any time. Like everything that people see, like the banter, all that stuff is in real time. You can't prepare for it. just like, hey, you just have to know this person's gonna say something to you. You're gonna have to respond, and like, and the camera's in your face. So I think it's tough. I remember my first gig in LA was like a coffee house open mic at Highland Grounds, which is no longer there. And you know, it's loud. There's like a bunch of coffee clinking, espresso machines, and you're trying to figure out like how do I like engage this crowd where they pay attention. So everything for me was clunky in the beginning. I feel like I'm more me now than ever, and in terms of branding. Everybody always sees me in red and black, so they start to kind of like understand because that's that person. I think as you get older, I don't know if it's just maturity, you get older, or you just get kind of more into what it is. But I feel like the more authentic you become, the more honest you become, the more real you become, and the less you start caring about what people think about you and just present you. I remember my mom used to always give me these Snoopy cards, and I love Charles Schultz, and he had this birthday card that I got, and it said like, be you, no one can tell you that you're doing you wrong. And I try to live by that all the time with music. It's just like, just be yourself. That's why someone like Prince was super prolific. Like he had like some amazing albums. He had some albums that people didn't get. John Coltrane had like, you know, Love Supreme, and the next album people were like, I don't get it. So it's a natural trajectory of an artist. You have to present what you are doing, and hopefully, you know, people gravitate to that. I think the business of it is always like carbon copy, do what everybody else is doing. You know, we've lost a lot of individuality in music and in movies and larger mass kind of produced products. And to go mass, I think to a certain extent, you have to kind of water down like what you're doing to be able to build to more people. But I feel ultimately, for me, the more me I become, the more comfortable I become in my own skin, the more people actually gravitate.
I love that inspiration from a Charles Schultz Peanuts cartoon is amazing. Okay, I want to ask you more about TV and, of course, this book that you got out right now. But let's get into the last song. It's called Movin On. It is Cliff Beach. And, of course, you heard it first and you watched it first on 88.5, the SoCal Sound.
Yeah. What you say? Woo! Get in. 1, 2, everybody now. But won't leave me alone. Keep me come back, baby, just to keep me hanging on. You reject me, keep pushing me away. Send me back in, girl, just to leave my heart astray. I wish I knew what I do now. Would have known that you let me down. Yeah, don't come here singing the blues, telling me you're confused, 'cause I'm already over you and I'm moving on. Don't come here singing the blues, telling me you're confused, already over you and I'm moving on. Said I'm moving on, moving on. Heard you met someone, swept you off your feet. Then it kicked you to the curb, baby, left it out and on the street. How did someone that you love leave you hurting the pain? I don't feel so good now, getting caught out in the rain. I wish I felt sorry for you, can't say that I do. Now you know how it feels, table turn on you. Don't come here singing the blues, tell me you refuse, 'cause I'm on the don't come here singing the blues, tell me you're already over you and I'm moving on. Yeah, said I'm moving on, moving on. Talking crazy, let's get married, have a baby, walking down the aisle and say I do. Now I got 2 words for you, baby, it's the truth. If you wanna put a ring on your head, I got just a finger for you. Don't come here singing the blues, telling me you refuse.
All right, so far we got 3 songs, So Into You and Confident and Moving On. Amazing performance by Cliff Beach and his band. Real quick, man, before we wrap it up here, Josh Gates Tonight. How'd you link up with this? Because it's on the Discovery Channel. How often is the show? And you're basically the band leader and the musical aspect of the program, huh?
Yeah, it's a really cool thing in life. I feel like there's a lot of things. Like with the radio station, it was very easy for me to connect with you and get on. And I love when things happen like that. With Josh Gates, it was the same thing. Like his producers found me through a website, Gig Salad, that I just happened to be on. And I get a lot of stuff there that I don't really do. And I just happened to see a message come across like, hey, do you want to do this TV show during the pandemic? And so now we finished up 2 seasons. It's on Discovery Channel and Discovery Plus. The seasons are short, so they only have 6 episodes a season, so we've done 12 so far. If it gets renewed, hopefully we'll come back. But we're pretty much the house band for that. They originally had a band during Shark Week, like a surf band, and then for like the regular season, they wanted to have a funk band. So they did Shark Week for a week, and they have like a Sharknado kind of band, and then we come in like for the regular season. So yeah, it was cool. Josh is an amazing host. I mean, he works so hard. He basically runs that night at Discovery, and he's been on Travel Network and a bunch of other stuff. He just lives like an interesting life. Like you'll just see, like he's like, I'm at the Explorers Club and I'm eating an iguana. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Good for you, you know. But he is larger than life, and he's as nice as you would think. And his fans are like super fanatical, so they'll find me and they're like, hey, can you like tell Josh this? Or like, hey, I saw you from there. Like, and I'm gonna get your book or listen to your music or whatever. So I'm always nice for that cross pollination. But yeah, he does an amazing job of like branding us, saying our name, telling people how great we are. Like, and I really appreciate that, especially like for TV or anything else. Just know that like you have to have so many approvals. So you have to have the producers, you have to have the host approval, you have to have the network's approval. So it's not like you can just get on there. So just to make it through all those approvals and then be brought back, and you know, obviously they're licensing music from us and having us perform and just giving us another platform to add to an up-and-coming musician is great. So I love Josh. I have nothing but good stuff to say about him. Discovery Channel and the network, the whole production team is top-notch, and I look forward to going back and doing more work with them.
That's awesome. That's Josh Gates Tonight on Discovery. You can see Cliff Beach on there. It's very, very cool. I'm so sorry that we're finally getting to this book now, towards the end of the interview. I should have led with it, I feel like. Okay. You yourself are doing so much with writing and recording, playing gigs, doing the TV show, doing the radio show. And I think you touch a little bit about time management in this new book. Is it basically a self-help book? It's Side Hustle and Flow, and it is available right now, right?
Yes, it is available now, and it's out on Amazon. It's out on Black Spring Press, Eyewear Publishing, based in the UK, but it's available worldwide. And we have distribution in the US, so you can get it a variety of places. We just did a huge book launch at Biz as well in Culver City. So happy to support indie bookstores as well. Yeah, it's crazy. I, during the pandemic, started the podcast, which eventually led also to a radio show, Deeper Grooves, same name. And then from there, I was like, hey, I need a project. Let me work on writing a book, because I've always wanted to write a book. And I never thought I would have like a captive time in my life where I didn't have shows and other stuff. So let me sit down and try to write this book, which took way longer than I assumed. And now we're just wrapping up audiobook editing, and that took a lot of time. It's very humbling. Writing, I didn't realize I didn't know a lot about English grammar or speak as well as I thought I did. And then, you know, so it took red pen to everything, 10 edits to get the book done. It took me 2 years finally to get it out. But, and then audiobook, just I stumble over words, like particularly, for some reason I couldn't learn to say it at a certain point. I had to Google how to say words I should know. Don't say it loud. So yeah, ultimately, yeah, it's a memoir, self-help book. I just wanted people to be inspired by myself, you know, as the guinea pig going through the trenches. Everything I did was trial and error. I didn't have any major connections or anything. It's always like a cold email, a cold call. Who do you know? Who do you know that knows someone? 6 degrees of separation, Kevin Bacon, to get to someone. And I put out a lot of messages that don't get received or answered, or I get a ton of rejection. So you just have to learn that like that's pretty much the only way to survive, to thrive, to be able to grow in this industry. Music is definitely not an easy industry. Neither is radio, neither is books, neither is podcasting. They all have their challenges, but at the same time, there's kind of like a democratization of all the industries where there's like lower barriers to entry. You can get your music on Spotify and Apple Music. You can get your podcast out there. So all those things are important. And I think that mainly is that we need to cultivate a culture where people are living more passionate and fulfilled lives by doing things they love. Whether they make money or they don't make money, the point is that we can't just have a society of people who are all Dilberts, who are all the same, who are all ubiquitous, homogenous, working for places that are unfulfilling, doing things that are not inspiring or aspiring. And whether you do it a little or a lot, the point is like with time management, with how you set up your life and your time and commitment and intentionality, that you can make the life that you want. Essentially, it seems like it's easy, and it's not. But people do it. Everyone that you admire, everyone that you see, like they have to put their life together. Like you look at someone like a Will Smith. I mean, obviously good or bad before the Oscar slap. But with him, when he was trying to create his career with movies, he wanted to become the biggest movie star. And so he sat down and analyzed, like, what are the top 10 movies? How can I make this happen? So success does leave clues if people are looking for those learning opportunities. And obviously, if you can learn from someone who's already done it, then it cuts the time in half.
Right. Do you have any mentors these days or someone you look towards for inspiration?
Oh, yeah. I've mentored and been mentored. You know, there was a time Akon, musician, mentored me. There's a show, Business Rock Stars. People can Google it and see me on there with him. But, you know, he helped start Lady Gaga's career and a bunch of other people, and just was influential. And he's from a different style of music, but he really encouraged me in terms of like getting my music out there to be licensed and saying, you know, that was going to be like my bread and butter as a songwriter and retirement. And I am seeing that now. You know, I just licensed a song that was in the latest season of Dynasty, the reboot. Season episode 20 of that. So it's cool. It's like you plant all these seeds and you don't know what's going to become big or not. But I'm always learning and definitely humble, you know, and just when anything happens, you have to celebrate those small wins and big wins, and definitely being a part of an amazing station like 88.5 and SoCal Sound, and being able to do deeper grooves has been like a huge just a lot of fun for me, you know. It's like, and being at a place that allows me to just to try new things and expose people to new music. And whenever people write us at the station and say how, you know, they like the show and how cool it is and to keep going, then that's very encouraging for me. And to have a platform, you know, where my music can also be played, like sprinkled in there and stuff like that. All of that stuff helps, and I get to help a lot of other artists too. I don't think people realize that, you know, people send me music and we do interviews with them for the at-home interviews. And we promote shows and get into ticket giveaways, and there's so many like other ways that we can kind of get connected. And as you start to realize that the industries are really small, so people that are like-minded start to bump into those people. So I think the more that we can have this reciprocity of helping other people, then we also can be helped with our own aspirations.
Right. Amazing, man. I know it's every day is a grind, and you've got your foot in different pools and, you know, doing so many different things, but how blessed are you to be able to basically do what you love? It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that I'm very fortunate for. I'm cognizant that not everybody is able to do that, but I think you can, on a larger, small scale, do something. You know, I remember in the book, I talked about a guy who I met who was like, he loved the salsa dance. And I was like, you should do this as much as humanly possible, as much as you can afford to. It's not like you necessarily have to do it to make money, but if you love it. You know, I knew a guy who collected coins. He loved doing that. I don't think it's for me, but I think everybody has their something and can figure out that it is. But you have to ask yourself questions to figure out what's right for you. In the same way that you have to try a lot of things. Where eventually I was like, oh, yeah, I really do enjoy radio. But if I hadn't put a seed out there and you gave me an opportunity, then I would have never even known that was something that would be as fulfilling as it is. And it's something that it has so much momentum. It gives me something to wake up and look forward to and be energized from and know when it's happening. That's like, you know, there are people depending on me for content to get that out there. And content is king. So the more you can get out there the better. And there's just so much great music, like for years that I've been sending to people. So I have a place where I can just, instead of having to text it out to people, just like, hey, go listen to the show and here's, what I think is cool and music. And to be able to showcase bands from around the world that I think are great, but a lot of people might not know, or you may not go and seek those things out. And there's not like really a lot of places to really discover music as much as there were. There's not as many radio shows that are like genre specific or kind of pushing new bands. A lot of radio, as you know, plays the same people that are tried and true that we've heard, which is great and it's safe. But it's nice to be able to also say, we got to pass the baton at some point to the newbies so that they can become people that are tried and true. And there are lesser opportunities in some ways than there, and more opportunities in other ways. So I think keep doing what you're doing. Keep making this station as diverse and as important to the community. Really, really, what I love about the station most, again, playing local artists, it showcases that we care about community. And through the whole pandemic, that was the messaging. It was like, we're here for you. Listen to us. This is your beacon in a bleak time. And it helped me get through a lot, being a member of the station as well as a DJ. And so I think the more communal and the more collectivist that we become as a society, the better.
Brilliantly said. The new slogan is community amplified. Man, you're an inspiration and such a hard worker. We're happy to have you, and it's been amazing to sit down with you today via Zoom. cliffbeachmusic.com, is that where to go?
Yeah, cliffbeachmusic.com, californiasoulmusic.com. I think my whole business.
Amazing. Cliff Beach, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mookie. Take care.